Hello there. Good to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio. I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. We just keep searching and keep looking for that light, don't we? My guest in this segment of Points of Light Radio is David Greggs. Mr. Greggs is the Knights of Pythias Grand Secretary for the Domain of Washington State. Now, for those of you who don't know about the Knights of Pythias, they were founded in Washington, D.C. on the 19th of February, 1864, by a man named Justice Henry Rothbone, who was also a Freemason. Now, remember what I've told you before about Freemasons having dual membership in other organizations? Well, in those days, a lot of Freemasons were also starting their own fraternal organizations. Mr. Rothbone had viewed a play by the Irish poet John Banham about the Greek legend of Damien and Pythias. And this led him to base the Knights of Pythias off of that play. Now, we'll expand on that as we go along here. The Knights of Pythias is headquartered in Stoughton, Massachusetts. Now, some of the lodges meet in structures referred to as Pythian castles. The Knights of Pythias has had and does have some prominent members of society in its ranks. Among them were Presidents Warren G. Harding, William McKinley, and Franklin D. Roosevelt. Remember what I told you about everybody knows about all the Freemasons who've been involved as presidents and world leaders, and yet they forget there were a lot of them held membership in other lodges. They've also had some vice presidents in their lodges. Among them were Nelson A. Rockefeller and Hubert Horatio Humphrey. Senator Charles Schumer is also a Knights of Pythias member. And there are many others, and I'm sure if you looked on that list, you would find some Canadians on there. Well, it's time to go talk to Mr. Greggs and let him expand on this. Are you still hungry for the light? Are you ready to go looking? Just trim your lamp and follow me.
Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Mr. Gregg.
Yes, I'm here.
Points of Light Radio.
Hi.
Well, tell me, you're a member of the Knights of Pythias.
I am.
Why don't you tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
I'm a retired IT worker for IBM and Boeing. I joined Knights of Pythias. My dad was a member for 50 years. At least here in the state of Washington, it started in Newcastle. It was an old coal mining town. We moved to Renton, and now we're in Issaquah. I'm actually the Grand Secretary, the Domain of Washington. So we have 5 lodges that participate in the governance at the state level, and then I'm also a Supreme Representative. We have our next convention in Charlotte, South Carolina here in August.
So what's that big in the States? Is it the Knights of Pythias? Because I know it's faded out in most of Canada.
It is faded out somewhat. I think we're growing a little bit, but not much. There is a domain in British Columbia. We're actually going to go up there in May and attend their grand convention. They come down to ours, so we kind of contribute to each convention and get our numbers up a little bit.
And what would you put that down to, though? Say the uptick in numbers, would you put it down to people just looking for more in this day and age, or?
I would say my lodge is growing because we get a lot of Masons to come in and dual membership in a couple of different fraternal orders. So that's been the biggest thing to get membership up. It's hard to get the younger people in. They're just too busy with other things, kind of like the churches and other fraternal orders have the same issues.
Well, it was started by a Freemason, wasn't it? Justice Rothbone. So it's not surprising you're getting some Freemasons.
I believe so, but he wanted to form the Knights of Pythias to stress friendship, charity, and benevolence. That was right after the Civil War.
Oh.
Actually, Abraham Lincoln signed our first charter. There's actually a plaque to commemorate that on the back of the FBI building in Washington, D.C.
Wow. So tell us about, though, the Knights of Pythias. What exactly do they do? What exactly are they do they do a lot of charity work or things of that nature?
We try to do a lot of charity work, not as much as we used to. It used to be an insurance type organization where if you were in a small town and something happened to the main breadwinner, then the Knights, if you're a member of the Knights of Pythias, they would help take care of you. That's since gone away. We do a lot of charity work in terms of raising money for the Cancer Society. Each leader gets to pick their own charity that they want to support during the year. We collect money, have drives, that kind of thing.
Okay. Now, are you a member of any of the organizations like the Dramatic Order of the Knights of Khorasan?
I am not. Some of my fellow brothers are. That's more of
So they're still around?
They're still around. There's one chapter in our state down in Tacoma, Washington. People come from Port Orchard and different areas to attend, but that's more of just a social organization. They have picnics and go to theaters and that kind of thing together.
Okay. And so they're still around, and they're not there's some of the other organizations, those upstream, some of the other fraternal orders, some of the upstream stuff has kind of faded out, but they're actually still strong, are they?
I wouldn't say strong. That's kind of too strong of a word, but they still exist.
So what effect did COVID have on the Knights of Pythias? Would you notice?
Well, we had to shut down our meeting in person, so that was not good. We did a lot of Zoom. We did start to do Zoom meetings. We did have to cancel one of our conventions in Yakima that first year, and I think it was 2020. We've since met, but with restrictions, social distancing, and wearing masks and stuff. We're set to. I know our group, everybody's been vaccinated, and we do meet in person. So we're meeting again. Some of the other lodges are starting to meet again as well. So it didn't help us at all, obviously. And it really threw a wrench in the number of people who could attend our convention. We had a lot of people from British Columbia who couldn't cross the border. So that was not good. We have a good contingent coming down to our convention from British Columbia.
So what drew you, though, to the Knights of Pythias? What was defined your decision to join the Knights of Pythias?
My dad was a 50-year member, so that's why I joined. And once I got started, I really liked the fellowship, meeting with my fellow brothers. We do ritual work, and then we have social activities and some projects that we work on together. Christmas, we collect food for the food bank, things like that.
And what has it done for you, would you say?
I think the biggest thing is it just gives me a way to be around like-minded men and just kind of grow as an individual and have fellowship with just men folk instead of your family, kind of bonding with males, I'd say.
What would you, if you could say anything to someone who was thinking about joining the Knights of Pythias, what would you say to them? How would you, encourage them or whatever? Would you say it could offer them?
A chance to be with other men, to do ritualistic work, to bond together with other men, to have social events together, have somebody to talk to that's like-minded as yourself, get support from any kind of issues that you may have. That's what I would say.
Well, Mr. Greggs, I certainly appreciate your time today. I can see you're busy there.
Yeah, my granddaughter's here, so we're getting ready to go hiking. So,
what's her name?
Alessa.
Alyssa, well, we've appreciated having both you and Melissa here on
Okay.
Points of Light. No, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
All right.
And, I look forward to learning more about your organization as we go along. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you. David Greggs, brothers and sisters, and Alyssa. It's good to have them both on here. Is she a future Pythian sister? You never know. Time will tell, right? It's great to have them both, like I said. And, if you noticed, I'm not trying to, shall we say, get any of these my guests here to reveal any of the secret works or, things of that nature. I'm a lot of the guests I'm inviting on are very paranoid about, what exactly I'm going to ask them. All families have secrets, as I've often said, and I'm going to let them keep them. But we do definitely want to find out what motivates people to join these fraternal organizations, as well as what these fraternal organizations do. But I do have another guest waiting on deck here. All the lengths I go to bring you knowledge and light here on Points of Light Radio. So I'm going to have to let you go for today. Before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel, as well as the link for this particular segment of Points of Light Radio. You can see the link to the segment, or to the link to the website for the Knights of Pythias, Washington. You can also see a link to my Points of Light Radio store, which like I keep saying, I'm going to bring some of that merch on here so you can have a look at it. But brothers and sisters, until we meet again, let's just step into the light.